Good morning, and thank you for joining us once again for Prioritize the Arts Live. I am your host and friend of the arts, LaShondra Vernon, and I am the executive director here at Artists Working in Education. Before we jump into the content of the live, we wanted to first thank the 72 donors that have supported this campaign so far. Thanks to your contributions, we are now at $92,489 of our $150,000 end of the year goal. We couldn't have done this without the support of all of you, small to large donations, and we're definitely going to do more work to shout out some of our great supporters. But today's theme is engage. Arts being activated as a tool to unify communities. The work that we do at AWE is an art form of collective impact. We work closely with neighborhoods to allow them to identify ways that they want to create solutions to some of the challenges that they face in their neighborhoods. And we will highlight a few of our wonderful relationships that have allowed us to do this work. But we're going to start by having a little bit of content from some of your favorite young people at AWE.
What are you doing? All over the city? They sure do. AWE artists not only work with kids like us, they create art all over the city and work with lots of grown-ups that do, grown-ups.
Wait, Harper, that gets me thinking about the artsy board-ups, doors open, and also the Feeding America mural.
Oh, wait. Oh, dear hearts. I think there's so many that we should just show them people. Otherwise, we're going to be all day.
Bronzeville Week, one of my favorite opportunities to engage in Milwaukee. I am proud to serve as the chair of the Bronzeville Advisory Committee for the City of Milwaukee. I have worked in the Bronzeville area for almost 10 years, and I am very proud to be part of a community building around the ownership and also the lived experience of Black folks in Milwaukee. Milwaukee, you should be proud of yourselves. We have one of the greatest Martin Luther King drives in the nation. And that is because we have built community collectively to make sure that that's possible. Let's also take a look at what's going on in the Silver City neighborhood with one of our artists in residence from this year, Sarah Gail Luther.
The next person is Sarah Gail Luther. So Sarah, if you could turn video on. And Sarah is the artist in residence in the Silver City neighborhood with artists working in education. Sarah's and I, we've been friends for a while, and I am a huge fan of her art. She's a phenomenal artist, and I'm excited about what she's going to share with us. Let me move into the screen share. Here we go. I'm going to get my timer ready, and you tell me when to go.
All right, go ahead. Let's do it. So thank you for everyone for being here tonight. It's really an honor to be a part of such a cool group of people. I am excited to tell you the story of our very new Silver City Artist in Residence program. So the story begins with AWE. They started an artist in residency program in partnership with the Mitchell Street Library in 2018. The goal was to bring community together, to build relationships and empower people through making art. They wanted the neighborhood or the library to eventually take this program on as their own. And because it was such a successful program, it only took 2 years to make that happen, which is really incredible. So in the end of 2019, they started looking for new neighborhoods to pilot this program in, and Silver City got to be one of them. So I moved to Silver City in 2014, and I realized it was a place where I wanted to put down roots because it was a neighborhood that felt so rich in all the things that I wanted. Kids playing in their front yards, friendly neighbors, interesting architecture. It has really amazing, inspiring public places, lots of restaurants, grocery stores, and other places to visit that are all really genuine and all within walking distance, which is kind of incredible. So visit Silver City. Many positive things that I realized were happening in the neighborhood are done with the support and the hard work of LBWN, which is Layton Boulevard West Neighbors. So as a neighbor, I decided that I really wanted to engage with them and volunteer as much as I could. In this past year, LBWN worked with a group of neighbors, including myself, on a new quality of life plan for Silver City, Burnham Park, and Layton Park neighborhoods. There was a ton of amazing ideas that came out of this planning project, but one of the major needs that we realized was the desire for more creative opportunities and activities, and also some sort of community gathering space. So I really found myself at this cool intersection of knowing AWE and working with AWE and working with LBWN and realizing that they had such complementary goals to each other. And I couldn't really ask for a better foundation of organizations to be working with as a public artist. So I put my name in the hat for to be the first artist in residence in Silver City and get that program going. And I was lucky enough to be accepted in that position. So I started planning lots of creative projects and workshops, events for people to get to know each other better, activities for people to be able to connect with the neighborhood specifically. And then of course, all of that had to change in April when we realized we weren't going to be able to gather in person or have a physical location for this project. But a virtual offering of these creative outlets, projects, and activities, I realized was just as important as gathering in person, especially as we all learn to adapt to this new moment in time and our new lifestyles in quarantine. So the Silver City Air website was launched as a platform to showcase all of the amazing things that we wanted to save and wanted to preserve and visit in our neighborhoods, all the parks, the public spaces, the businesses, the amenities, online resources for people to find whatever kinds of needs and services that they needed during the pandemic. And then it was also a place to share really creative ideas and activities. So there were art projects, art kits that were delivered contactlessly, and ideas for walking or exploring in the neighborhood. I shared writing prompts and brainstorming prompts. So just trying to get people really engaged and using materials that are around the house, things that were simple activities for people to find their way through their neighborhood and through their own moment in time. I really wanted people to find pleasure in like investigating and taking ownership in where we live, especially since we cannot travel as far as we might have been able to in the past. So for Doors Open Milwaukee, I was really excited to take some of these simple concepts of just exploring your neighborhood and create projects and videos that worked as an invitation for people all over the city to look at where they live with fresh eyes. And again, like, even though we might not be as busy or traveling as far, but we can find that inspiration closer to home. And I think Doors Open really exemplifies that concept and that idea. So it was really a wonderful partnership. The Silver City Artist in Residency will continue through the spring, which I'm excited to keep making projects and keep engaging with the neighborhood in whatever way is safe. And then at some point, we will hopefully be able to open the program in a physical location in the neighborhood. And then eventually, it will hopefully become a permanent fixture of Silver City, and there'll be new artists leading the way each year. So that's our trajectory. Thanks. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Sarah. I actually happen to live like 2 blocks from Sarah right now, and also in the Silver City neighborhood, and you got me excited to go out and do stuff in our neighborhood. And I think
an art kit. Yeah.
Absolutely. And even all the writing prompts and everything, even if you don't live in the Silver City neighborhood, it looks like that could apply to pretty much anywhere you might be sitting in the city of Milwaukee, right?
Totally. Check it out. Yeah, every project can apply to anyone all over, but the art kits are available if you do live in Silver City. But yeah, anyone else is welcome to join in.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. You did a wonderful job.
All right. Isn't that wonderful? The work that happened in Silver City has been a real blessing to us through the distancing programming. We're really grateful that we were able to be agile with that program and continue what we had planned for Silver City. And another big shout out to our dear friends at LBWN, now VIA, for the continued partnership in the community in their neighborhood. So the next thing that we're going to share with you is the artful board ups that happened this summer. And then John and I will return for a quick conversation about how that came to be. All right, let's bring John in. Hey, John. Are you muted?
Oh, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So, why don't you share a little bit about how we took the step to do these amazing artful board ups in the community this summer?
Sure. So, the Art for Board Up program has actually been around in Milwaukee for, I don't know, over 10 years or so. And it used to be sponsored by the Department of Public Works, where city-owned buildings that needed to be boarded up would have murals painted on them to spur some redevelopment, kind of change the narrative of the neighborhood, and just, generally spruce up the street for all the residents and the community. And this summer we had a very interesting summer, and we had a lot of protesting and marching happening in Milwaukee, where some buildings felt the need to board up. And with that, it kind of alters the look of the neighborhood and the feel of the neighborhood. It's not, the most welcoming sight. So we thought, hey, why don't we get some local artists out there and start sprucing it up for the neighborhood, and just, making those residents feel welcome and comfortable in their own space. So that's what we did.
That's right. So the building that was right there was pretty important to the street, specifically because that building was a development of the Martin Luther King Drive EDC, Economic Development Corporation, and they had a bank in that building. They had businesses in that building, and people were still walking in and out of that building. So, while you guys were installing that mural, what were some of the reactions that you had by people in the neighborhood walking by?
Well, first off, my favorite reaction is all the car honks that we get when we're out there painting. So it's really fun just to, get those reactions and see how thankful the community are. Um, but then speaking with residents walking by, it is something that everybody wants to see. Nobody wants to see a piece of, plywood screwed to a beautiful building. So being able to put some art on there just brightens everybody's day. So sometimes we get people who want to stay and help and paint, and that's pretty cool that they get to encounter that on a day where you might never have seen someone painting a mural before, and now look, you're just kind of stumbling upon it. But I think it's that unexpected art that really brightens people's day, and again, just represents a stronger community.
That's right. That's absolutely right. We were able to do artful board ups for several organizations. So why don't you list them so I don't miss anyone?
Sure. Beautiful Girls is a great organization on Lisbon and 18th Street that serves young women in our community. We worked with the Riverworks Community Center, so they have the Riverworks Vibe Building, which is a financial literacy center and co-working space. We also did the artistic board ups on the King Commons apartment building, which has an art gallery and dance studio on the first floor that was boarded up as well. And I'm trying to remember if we have, I think those are the three we did this year.
Right. Yes, this year.
And it's
more.
Yeah, it's neat because artistic board ups we've done in the past, the murals kind of spur interest in the building, and those buildings have since been sold and developed, so they get to return to vibrant, kind of fulfilled spaces.
Absolutely, so true. Well, John, we're going to keep going. Thank you so much for what you continue to do for our community as our Director of Artist Residencies. And I will now be sharing about another one of the projects that you and Adria were able to lead in for the Feeding America mural in Lindsay Heights.
Colored Candyland, people of this destiny, will you come and dance with me? Please help us find our liberty, so the future can be what they want to be if they believe.
Alice started with less than months.
And just really trying to harness the amount of love, the amount of connection and unity, and the importance of food and how it brings people together, and really getting to know the history of the space that I was in, getting to know, the elders and the wisdom that they would impart on me every time I'd go there to harvest or to hang out or whatever it was. So I felt really passionate when I heard about this project. The farmer at the very beginning, the older man, bridges that connection with the apple, and Feeding America's very first donation of his vibe is very much like joy. He loves what he does, he loves providing food, he loves working the earth. And then at the end, the mother and the child, they're just like, they're beaming, they're grateful, and they're proud to be where they are. And the color really signifies in this specific piece, I hope that it translates a sense of joy, a sense of vibrancy and beauty. I think one of the main things is to just be really proud. I think Lindsay Heights has so many amazing people doing the work, making it what it is, and keeping the momentum going upward.
only good things can come from people who are so passionate about the place that they live, and I just am honored to be a part of that and provide something in my talents for it.
Brothers and sisters from other cultures are laughing and praying together in unity. Picture enough food for everyone to eat. Despite what life may bring, roses can grow from the concrete. Picture every school having resources, inspiring our babies to learn, feeding their dream, an America where a dream deferred becomes a dream returned. Back to the community, planting seeds for the next generation. Little boys and girls are proudly walking across the stage at graduation. We are raising the bar because everything else has already been raised. Let's change the narrative, step back and be amazed that together we are stronger. So the future can be what they want to be if they believe.
All right, now I'm going to bring back in John and Drea. Hi, John and Drea.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, the Feeding America mural in Lindsay Heights. What an exciting experience. Can you guys share a little bit from the very beginning of this process and how it came to fruition?
Yeah, so, the Feeding America mural was a really great project that John and I got to work closely on with the Feeding America leadership team. And so Feeding America really wanted to be able to share something with the community that told the community's story through this artistic, narrative of storytelling, but then also one that spoke to that aligned with Feeding America's mission. And that was really important to them. And it also was specifically important to them due to, all of the discussion that was happening this summer around social justice and people having the ability to speak their mind and engage with the things that were happening in our communities locally and across the country. And they really wanted that to be able to show up in this mural. And we worked with them to, figure out what, the timeline was, because they had some really specific ideas around how they wanted it to be intentionally carried out. And looking for an artist and making sure that we were still able to engage the community was really important to them, which presented some challenges, I think, as we all know. And so that was something that John and I were able to help them work through. And I think that's one of the things that in these projects that we do with murals and community, that we're always making sure that we're trying to, figure out ways to engage the community, but also to help the partner that we're working with through this process, because it is a multi-layered process. It's not just as simple as saying, oh, we're going to install a mural, let's do it. You have to take into account the community members, the community organizations, and the artists, and making sure that we're also representing the artists and their vision, which is the really important piece. And Feeding America was definitely willing to help us in supporting that artistic vision, which we always love to see, because art's what we do, right? So we never want to stifle the artist and their story. And so the artist that was picked to do this project, Aisha Valentine, she did a wonderful job and really connected with the community. And in the end, that was essentially why she was chosen, was because her story and her experience and her vision for how she was representing Lindsay Heights, it really resonated with the group. And everyone just fell in love with her spirit as well. And so I think, for me, that was an exciting piece, is just, finding this artist to work with who did such great work. And maybe, John, you could speak to, just how, from your perspective as an artist, how Aisha's work ethic kind of showed up in this mural in the end.
Absolutely. And just one other thing I wanted to note about just getting to the selection process and choosing Aisha as the final muralist is there was a panel of over 30 community stakeholders and residents and Feeding America board members, and that's a lot of opinions and a lot of cooks in the kitchen. So for an artist to be able to convey their story in such a strong manner and in such an authentic manner, it was kind of a no-brainer that Aisha was chosen to do this project. So that was just a beautiful part of the process. And I want to thank all the community members that really showed up to voice what they wanted to see in their environment and in their community. And I think Aisha just did such an incredible job of taking that story and turning it into such a powerful visual. She has such a strong connection to the neighborhood. She grows her food in Alice's garden. She lives a couple blocks away. So it was just a really awesome connection and just a great opportunity for Aisha as well to, really show up for her community. And I love that we are able to provide opportunities like that for artists and make that happen. And then really push them to do their best work. So it's always a little push and pull. There's always a little compromise with the designs and things like that. But at the end of the day, these collaborative projects really are what sort of really shine bright in our community.
For sure. That's absolutely true. This project was, I just want to shout out the fact that this is a neighborhood that has a lot of leadership and a lot of community partners. I want to shout Raina Andrews out specifically from Feeding America. She felt like a team member working with us. And that was really great to have such a good partner in making this project happen. And also the poet that is featured on the video is Lakita. And Lakita is a local spoken word artist, an inspirational leader. It really brought a lot of our community members together. And it was just beautiful to witness this project happen. And the outcome is outstanding. So for those watching, please make sure when you're driving down Fond du Lac, don't look away from the road. But if you have time, pause to admire the installation that is welcoming you into Feeding America today. Awesome, you guys. All right, so we're getting close to the end of the video, and we usually do our after the live conversations. But before we do our after the live conversation, I just want to bring in Rihanna. We're going to have a quick conversation. So thank you both. We are so grateful that you are members of this team, and keep leading artfully.
Thank you.
All right, so now I'm going to bring in Rihanna. Rihanna is the Senior Program Director here at AWE. Hi, Rihanna.
Hello.
So since I've come to AWE, you've really been at AWE historically doing a lot of the work for quite a long time. And so I leaned and learned a lot from you specific to what we are as an organization. But in the first 2 years that I've been at AWE, one thing has been very clear, and that is that we are a sustainable social enterprise. We are founded as a nonprofit organization, but our programs in fee-for-service have grown significantly, both under your leadership, but then also from the demand that comes from great work being done in partnership with communities. Can you talk a little bit about how we came to this realization and what this means for the general public when they're considering potentially working with artists working in education?
Absolutely. So one thing that is just imperative to know is that we have been working out in the community for over 20 years now. So AWE possesses a tremendous asset and a wide breadth of knowledge and experience in what are the best ways to work with with various communities within our cities, how to work authentically, responsively, meaningfully, and to really cultivate that. Cultivate community is in our mission. And so we've been working diligently on that. And I think that it's just fantastic that we're able to build and with very mindfully about our fee-for-service offerings, and so that we are keeping the spirit and the culture of AWE, but able to offer that to clients and customers and help them reach their goals. And also, it is very much kind of, that buy one, get one model where anytime we are able to take on a client or customer through our fee-for-service program, they're really just supporting our mission, allowing us to give more free and very accessible programming to everyone in the community. So it's a win-win for everyone.
For sure, for sure. So you and I did the several social enterprise training-based programs, but that in a nutshell is like our elevator pitch. It is a one-to-one. It is a win-win for the community when you choose to hire artists working in education to create your experiences in your communities and your neighborhoods.
Yeah, we I was kind of doing the math a while ago, and just in the tenure that I've been at AWE thus far, trained over 200, possibly 300 artists. So there is a group of artists in our city that AWE is also cultivating in that community too. And so by supporting them and encouraging them and empowering them to go out and do great things, I think we're just kind of multiplying and spreading that. And that is something that is also critical to AWE's mission. But when we are able to work in these fee-for-service environments, we're able to offer our artists in a whole new realm of professional development, as we already talked about, like the Feeding America mural.
For sure, just really growing the experience of working with a community is a part of it. So I would say this is in a lot of ways workforce development. It is cultivating a creative economy to flood that pipeline and to identify ways that creatives are absolutely necessary to whatever industry you may think of. And so really look at that, the arts and culture sector, as its own entity, as its own necessary skill in being successful in earning.
Yeah, I think Milwaukee only stands to grow and succeed when we can build up that creative backbone that translates to all other industries. Having innovative, creative minds and people who can dream and think big thoughts is going to help keep Milwaukee on the forefront and able to work on solving some issues and addressing any new issues that come through. And I think that keeps our city vital and relevant and makes just for a fantastic life experience to be here.
I absolutely agree. It's so fun working with you, Rihanna. I think the growth that we have as a team is starting to show in ways that we never knew it would, right? And as we've grown, what I've learned is that we're not huge in our day-to-day, but we definitely have huge imagination, huge creativity, and we are as agile can be. And I'm grateful to be in the space with a bunch of agile leaders, just really thinking about what's the best for the community. But the most important is, how do we really execute the mission? How do we move the needle around the things we say we're necessary for? And I think this year has been a year that put all people to the test. But I think that we've shown that we get to pass on to the next phase of the tests, whatever they will be in 2021. But at this time, I'm going to bring the rest of the crew in just for our quick message of thanks, but also get everybody in first before I keep talking, and then remove our lovely. There we go. So I can see all the faces. Did I get everybody? I did. So as we close out, and the spirit of today in the concept of engage, it's about sustainability. And so in our short responses, what has sustained you, both creative or just in general, through this tough year? One thing that you can point to that has been a sustainability for you to stay joyful, happy, and creative. And anyone can go first, or I'll name someone. Drea, because you're smiling.
I was already hitting the unmute button. So I think what has sustained me specifically with regards to the work for AWE is, it really is a part of what, my job is as an outreach manager. And even though we can't always work as closely as we would have been able to with our artists or our community partners, or even as a team, I think it's those connections that I still get to have. So, on my end, I'm still checking in on some of our artists when I can that we've worked with, or sometimes they're checking in on me, which is always incredibly kind, even if it's just a simple text message, or checking in with some of our volunteers and maintaining those relationships, even though right now volunteering is hard. And so it's just being able to still have some connection to people, even if it is, virtually or via phone call. And the same thing with working with the partners that we have been able to work with and make something still happen. So yeah, just maintaining those relationships and that human to human connection in whatever form I can get it, I think has been really helpful for me during this time.
Something that's incredibly motivating to me is just thinking about how we can continue to try to employ more artists and train more artists, and also encourage young people who might be interested in art to think about creative careers. So this is a challenging environment, but at the same time, there's lots of new opportunities out there that are waiting to be discovered. And in a way, how can we roll in new artists? And so I think we'll be talking this in a week or two, but we're going to work on bringing some art therapists on board too, which is an exciting new part of development for AWE and our arts and healing program. So stay tuned for that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say definitely the connections that Drea was speaking about before, and obviously we miss our face-to-face connections, but seeing how possible it is to virtually connect and virtually collaborate and cultivate communities has been really inspiring for me. It's not a zone I was comfortable in last February, and now it's just the new day to day, which I think just opens more and more possibilities for the future and makes our work more efficient and more accessible for some audiences, which is really great. And just kind of the learning and that agility that you were talking about earlier as well, and our ability to pivot and to just make things happen with whatever situations we're kind of going through. And just the need, like the extreme need for art during this time too, and how, you might think that basic needs take the forefront, but really just the community is crying.
Uh-oh, we got to pause. John, I don't know if your last couple words, I don't know whether or not they were caught. Just say your last sentence one more time.
Sure. I was just saying how appreciative I am of just the need for creativity and for art, and how helpful and healing it is for people, and how you may think that at a time like this, it could become a lower priority, but it really is still right at the forefront.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. Audrey?
Definitely what's been pushing me, motivating me throughout these past few months is definitely seeing our younger generation creating still during this time. Especially with my program, Rising Artists Council, I meet with them almost weekly, and it's always a new story about different challenges they're going through, but then also the different ways they're being inspired and motivated themselves to still be creating, but also be honest with themselves about where that inspiration is coming from them, especially considering the times we live in. Despite that, they're still finding ways to to spark that joy within themselves that comes from art. And that honestly has been very motivating for me as well. And I stay motivated within that so I can keep on working with this program to and modify it so it accommodates and also works with the mood and the inspiration and the motivation of the people we work with.
Absolutely. And I would say that's really what's deeply sustained me is this revitalized belief in humanity, and how at a time where I could have imagined initially that the creative economy would not have been supported as much as it has been, I am surprised at how much people have valued the arts through a crisis. And I shouldn't be surprised, but I am pleasantly surprised with more abundance than I expected in this space coming to our communities. And I know that the both philanthropic but customer spaces have really shown what matters to them. And we've seen customer bases grow in some areas that a lot of people would think wouldn't grow through this type of crisis. It's just been a shift of priorities and we weren't left out. And I'm really grateful to not have been a left out sector. But that doesn't mean that there doesn't need to be a deeper investment in this sector, because it is sustaining many people's careers. So as much as I'm pleasantly surprised, I'm still charging and challenging our communities to deeper prioritize the arts, with an intention to really keep the humanity in a time when we can't be together. And that's kind of what my big reflection, it's almost my whole 2020 reflection, right? That it's December, everyone. Remember in March when we were like, this should be over in 3 months. And here we are in December going into 2021, some of the same challenges, but we didn't stop the creative community. The community of artists continued to be sustained. So I'm just really grateful. I'm living and breathing gratefulness right now. And, of course, the whole focus of this is to get support to continue to grow AWE's capacity to provide these engagement opportunities, whether we have a customer or not. And our hope is that in the future, some of you will identify us as the right place to spend your dollars to create, so that you know that the social good and the social impact is continuing beyond your investment into places and spaces that may not be able to afford the services. So we continue to be grateful. We continue to stay engaged, and we've been fortunate enough to identify ways to keep this going. Shout out to the entire nonprofit community that's kept things going. And at this time, I think we're done having our chat. So check in with us next week. We're almost done. We are more than 60% of the way to the goal. So go ahead and keep digging in and digging deep, because you can close this out for us and we can successfully go into 2021 with new programs that will be tailored to what our community needs in the arts. Thanks for your time.